So here is our objective. Remember, uh, red and blue shifted light is when you have the source or the observer are moving away or towards each other. All right. So here is our problem. Where Crazy Hair and Dr. Square are looking at this a couple of stars one night, and they want to know, like, hey, which way things are going, right? And you need to analyze the light because they don't know, and that's what this is about. This is basically the problem that we're trying to solve. Now, how do they do this? They would first thing people do here on Earth and have done is studied emission spectrums of elements. All right, and they're like they've studied these lines. The next thing they've done is they've looked at the sun and studied the sun and used that and compared it to the emission signs. Uh, Spectrums of elements. And they've also studied lots of stars and they've seen lots of patterns. Now, this is for wavelengths. The next thing is it says you're going to compare data at specific wavelengths. And from that, you're going to be able to figure out what's what. Now, I want to talk and show you what different star data actually looks like. This is a good representation. This comes from Gizmo. Gizmo is like an online uh, simulations, and you've got starlight, and it gets to Earth, and then they shine it through a prism, and then it comes out into all the colors of light. And you'll notice it has these spectral lines in it. These spectral lines tell you something about the star and its movement in terms of where they are. However, this is actually really more modern day as to what stars data looks like. It's this crazy graph, which looks like almost like an EKG, so to speak. This is intensity and this is wavelength. And they look at these peaks, dips in intensity. When you put it together, it looks like this. These spectral lines in the first image correspond to dips in intensity in the star. All right. And where they are on the thing will tell you what's going on in terms of movement. All right. Now it's pretty simple in terms of how you interpret the data. If at a specific wavelength, if it's greater than, that means the light's been red shifted. If that wavelength is less than what you'd expect, that's blue shifted. And here's a note. All right, this star or this wavelength from a star, this represents a light source in the heavens. It could be anything that gives off light. And you wouldn't always look at the same wavelengths depending upon what you're looking at. All right, so let's look at some examples. Now here's the sun. We have this spectral line in the sun. So we're like, oh, let's they kind of repeat from star to star. You can see that the spectral line is shifted to the left. That means this star B is a movement away. And I said quote unquote here because I'll explain that later on. But since this spectral line has been shifted towards the red end, that means, hey, it is the red shifted, movement away. Here you can see this spectral line is going the other way. That means the movement is towards. Now, this is the same kind of data, but in the data from the same two stars, but now I'm looking at the graph. All right. Here's my dip in intensity at that wavelength. I look at star A and I'm like, that dip is happening at a lower wavelength. Therefore, blue shift. In star B, it is red shift. All right. What you can learn from these movements is when it's blue shifted, one possibility is it's moving towards like this. Red shifted, they're both moving away from each other. Another possibility, however, is that for each of them, the objects are moving in the same direction. As you can see, This and this are both moving to the left. This is moving slow, fast, so that's going to catch up. It's moving at it. All right. Um, Here, it's the same thing, but the opposite. They're both moving in the same direction, but one's moving away faster in that direction. All right. So, going back to the original question, which way were they going? Well, one was moving towards and one was moving away based upon their light, like I showed you. Here are our sources. One was the image, these two were images, and this one was a third image. All right. Thank you so much. Hope you have a good day.